Brown bear, what do you see? I see a red bird looking at me.
On a cold, grey day in Michigan, little Logan Morell is being read his favourite story before a nap.
Yellow duck looking at me.
But his mum, Shannon, knows there's a much harder story she will one day have to tell him about the boy born with two mothers.
I see a...
We sat down in the office, and that's when the doctor gave me the most horrible news you could imagine. And he says that some other woman is carrying your embryos. And I remember just looking at him and just saying, he said, after he says that they've been transferred into another woman, and I said, and she's pregnant. And he said, yes.
We will always think of him as our baby. He'll always be my baby. But I do recognize the fact that he's their son. And I think there's a difference between the two.
You don't feel robbed at all?
Definitely, we were put through something that nobody should ever be put through.
You're funny, no!
So who does he get his table manners from?
Oh, it's gotta be Shannon.
Yeah, right.
For one family, Logan has brought so much joy, yet for another, so much pain. The story begins 2 years ago with couples Carolyn and Sean Savage from Ohio and Shannon and Paul Morell from the neighbouring American state of Michigan. They were complete strangers. The only thing they had in common was that their frozen embryos were stored at the same IVF clinic.
Did you always want a big family?
We did. I think, you know, from the time we got married, Sean's one of 9 kids. I'm the oldest of 3, and I don't think we wanted 9. But, you know, I think, you know, we were probably thinking along the lines of 4, 5. So, you know, the more the better for us.
That's right.
Oh, nice shot.
The Savages already had 3 children, the teenagers Drew and Ryan, and their baby sister Mary Kate, born 10 years later through IVF. Pregnancy had become increasingly dangerous for Carolyn, but in February 2009, she decided to give it one more go. 10 days after the embryo was implanted, came the call from their doctor.
And he immediately launched into the fact that Carolyn was pregnant, but they had made a terrible mistake in the lab and had pulled and transferred another couple's embryos.
Sean immediately headed home, thinking how on earth he would deliver this awful news to Carolyn.
I thought he was kidding. Because that doesn't happen. So I looked at him and I said, "You're joking." And he just kind of shook his head no. And I said, No, you're joking. And I think then the reality of it just kind of crashed into me. And it was as if all of the oxygen in my lungs had been sucked out.
The next day, it was the Morells' turn to receive the news from their own doctor.
What? What do you mean? What do you mean you transferred our embryos into another woman? Who? How? How did this happen?
So how did it happen? Through the simplest of clerical errors. The Morells' frozen embryos were stored under Shannon's maiden name, which just happened to be Savage.
It could have happened to anybody, which is a scary thing.
It's a human error.
Yeah, pretty ridiculous human error. How could somebody screw up so bad? I mean, what a horrible thing, and this is human life. We're not taking a filing folder.
Carolyn Savage now found herself in a moral and legal minefield. In her heart, she knew she was carrying another woman's baby, so she was never going to fight for custody. And yet, she was advised by her doctor to abort the baby.
The irony of the fact that I could terminate the pregnancy, but if I brought him in to this world, I would have to give him away. That's an absurd irony, but it was our reality.
But you'd had very serious medical problems in the past with pregnancies. You were basically risking your own life to have a stranger's baby.
Yeah, but I just didn't see that there was a choice at that point. I knew we wouldn't have attempted to get pregnant again if I thought it was so dangerous that I wouldn't survive. So that being said, I was willing to do this for my own child. Why wouldn't I be willing to do this for some other family's child who would probably be desperate to make sure that their child was okay? I could never live with myself if we had not done what we did.
What they agreed to was an extraordinary contract. The baby would be handed over to the Morell family within minutes of his birth. On September 24, 2009, Logan was delivered by caesarean section.
I was like, you know, he's here, and he's screaming and he's crying and I remember them asking me, do you want to see him? And I was like, of course I want to see him. And they brought him around to me and he was pink and he was huge. And I was like, yes, you know, I did it.
Anybody can remember the day their child was born. Everybody remembers the moments after delivery and during delivery. Those never leave you. And the concept of 10 minutes later walking that child down, you can prepare for a lifetime for something like that and not be ready for it.
And I was just thinking, just don't take him, but do take him. It was such a tug. You know, I knew he was going. I didn't want him to go. It didn't feel right that he was going, but it wouldn't have felt right not to let him go.
Waiting down the hallway to receive their new son were the Morells.
How difficult was it walking down the corridor knowing that you had to hand over Logan?
There was a reluctance. And there was also, I can't believe I'm doing this. I cannot believe that I'm doing this. But you just one step at a time, and you get there. We stopped, and it was almost like they needed me to nod to open that door, you know, because everybody knew what was happening. And there was, you know, Carolyn and I talk about it, there's almost a reverence. It was spiritual too, in my view.
You gave them the ultimate gift.
Yeah.
Hey, Kevin. Look at that. And I heard that you're a mover.
Looks like you have a take-home baby.
You're a take-home baby.
Yep.
How lucky are we?
Oh, there he is. He's just tiny.
Well, you see his cute little face. You're like, it's this surreal, and there was this huge sense of relief.
Thank you. Thank you. Oh, you're just precious. Oh, just precious.
It was an amazing experience.
As a dad though, Paul, you must have felt for Sean.
Yeah. I mean, gosh.
He was heartbroken.
Yeah. Little boy, I know.
As a lifetime's joy started for the Morells, Carolyn Savage's life was in serious jeopardy. She was hemorrhaging and needed emergency surgery. She recovered just enough the next day to enjoy an hour with the child she had born before he was taken away again.
Say hi.
Hi.
Say hi. And I wanted to feed him, and I'm not even sure he was hungry. But you know, I just wanted that one chance to try to feed him, and so we fed him a bottle, and you know, I wanted to really look at his body, so I remember unwrapping him. He was swaddled, and kind of holding him up, and you know, turning him around, and he was perfect. He was perfect, and I laid him down, and he kind of nestled his little his little head under my chin, and it was kind of that skin-to-skin bonding contact, and he settled instantly down, and I was like,
He must have felt so much like yours at that point.
oh, when I held him, and he was kind of curled up under my chin, and I thought, he's mine. but he wasn't. And I knew the logic of that.
Okay, listen, you have to pull some strings for us.
One, two, woo!
Action shot.
18 months have gone by, and Logan is a little ball of energy.
Are you
Just like,
stuck, buddy?
he's like, okay, I've had enough of this. There we go. Watch out.
So Logan completes your family now.
He does. He does. How lucky to have a third child, and he's a boy.
And you're so close to not having him. Do you sort of think of him as your little miracle?
He is.
Yeah.
I think so. I think so.
That's you they're talking about.
Happy birthday to you.
A child's first birthday is always a special occasion for any family, but one the Morells decided to keep to themselves. Yet 2 other people would have loved to have been there to wish him happy birthday.
I'll say that first year was tough, and his first birthday was really hard for me. And I think that it would be dishonest for me to say that I wasn't somewhat regretful that we didn't get to, at least, visit with him that day. But we understand that that's out of our control. And, it's just, there's nothing we can do about it.
Hey, buddy, it's your birthday.
Did you think to invite them to his first birthday party, or?
No, I didn't. I mean, I thought about it, but I wanted it to be normal. It wouldn't be, usually we just have some family. I didn't want it, I don't know. Again, I'm thinking about Logan.
When was the last time they saw Logan?
Last summer.
So it's been about 8, 9 months since they've
Yeah.
seen him.
I mean, it's not like they can't see him.
So let's see what he does. Look, honey, this is something new. Veggie mate.
Just some Vegemite.
Veggie?
Guarantee he's gonna like it.
Okay. He's looking at it, going, this
Come on.
is different.
You just gotta put it in the
Do you
mouth.
guys want to try?
For now, life's pretty normal, and every day a new experience.
How's your first taste of Vegemite?
It's like, I don't know.
He's got a gobful, so I think he likes it.
As to the mix-up that led to Logan's creation, the IVF clinic accepted full responsibility and settled with both families.
It is like a taste I've never tasted before.
That's an impressive eating style you've got there, mate.
Yet if the Morells had their way, they would never have to tell Logan about this monumental mistake.
Let's go. Whoa.
But that's impossible. Through no fault of his own, Logan will always have 2 mums looking out for him.
I want him to feel that this was meant to be, that this was his fate, and what a lucky kid he is. Now, that's not easy. I mean, it's hard to accept, I think, our fate sometimes. I think that's something we're still working on. But to him, I want to make it to be a beautiful ending, and although it was an unusual beginning, what a lucky kid he is.
He's got 2 families who love him.
Definitely. Definitely.
I think when he's old enough to understand how his life came to be, that he needs to know that he's loved very much by us and that his purpose here on earth is valued incredibly. He's not a mistake. He was never a burden. I think he'll always be part of us. I just don't know if we'll ever be part of him. I just, that'll take place as he grows up, and I don't know.
Hello, I'm Allison Langdon. Thanks for watching. To keep up with the latest from 60 Minutes Australia, make sure you subscribe to our channel. You can also download the 9Now app for full episodes and other exclusive 60 Minutes content.